Are superhero movies dead? Or is it simply superhero fatigue? Have streamers poorly affected box office performance? Did the MCU make a mistake killing their heroes and changing them? Are the stories as strong as they used to be? Can DC make up for the past? Were Marvel Phase 4 and 5 too disappointing? And can Doomsday and Spider-Man and Superman save superhero movies for the future? Anthony, are they dead?
I don't think they're dead, but they're not what they used to be. And the future doesn't look super bright for them. And it seems like general audiences are less interested in them than they have been over the past 3 decades. And we have a ton of information and facts and research that we found, as well as what we think. I think that there's overall, as an umbrella, budgets are too high. The storytelling isn't always very strong. Average moviegoers aren't going to these anymore. There's been an oversaturation of the content, and then lack of original stories, and we can break all these down. What do you think?
I think obviously there's a decline. 2025 has shown that, we have really good superhero movies coming out. Superman, I fucking love that movie. Fantastic Four was great. Thunderbolts was very solid, but not a huge fan of Captain America Brave New World. So that wasn't a huge hit for me as well. Wasn't there another one that came out this year in 2025 as well? Something. What else came out in 2025?
I think that's it.
So
I gotta say, I liked all the movies. I didn't love them. I didn't love them. But I thought they were solid. A few of those for sure.
Yeah. At the end of the day, though, so Craven came out. Yes. Yeah. So Craven came out as well. So at the end of the day, we're getting projects that we're kind of 50-50 in terms of whether they're great or not, or good or not, as well as the quality. So I don't want to just say, is superhero fatigue real, or is it mediocre film fatigue? We're on the 36th, 38th Marvel movie now.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of movies since 2008. That's a lot of films. 17 years, we're almost at 40 movies, not to mention the amount of TV shows. So there is clearly an oversaturation here in the market. Audiences would turn out in droves for superhero movies, no matter what, between the years of 2008 and 2019. Every movie was pulling in massive budgets and massive box office numbers. Not to say that we're still not getting big performers. I mean, go back to 2023, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 pulls almost $900 million at the box office.
Yeah.
Massive hit. But why? I think it's because people love those first 2 movies so much, and it, is kind of a big tire to the original Endgame saga in a lot of ways. There's a way for people to say goodbye, as well as it was marketed as kind of a goodbye to these characters. And I think that's a testament to what James Gunn did with that franchise, with that IP. Now, we have massive big movies here. We have Superman, Fantastic Four. Superman's doing well, but it's not even going to come close to $1 billion. Not that it has to. Fantastic Four, huge drop-off in its second weekend of the box office. The third weekend, you can project it's going to have a similar box office drop of the second weekend. It was a 66% drop at the box office.
It might pull in $20 million this upcoming weekend.
It's going to struggle to hit $500 million at the box office. And these movies have massive budgets. We know Thunderbolts lost to Marvel over $100 million at the box office. Movie theaters split ticket sales, guys. So remember, when we're talking about box office numbers, movie theaters get a cut of the ticket sales. They don't play movies for free, and movie studios aren't spending $300 million to make a profit of $5 million at the box office. We have to factor that in as well as not just movies, but there's so many shows. At the end of this year, there's going to be, for Marvel alone.
Let's stay with. Let's talk about oversaturation for
exactly.
a little bit.
So just this year alone, there'll be 4 Marvel movies and 6 Marvel TV shows this year.
So let's talk about oversaturation. Now, they started hitting pretty well in the early 2000s, so studios started greenlighting more of them. In the 2000s, that decade, there were 31 total superhero movies. That's 3 a year.
So between 2000 and 2009?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. 3 movies a year. That's not that many.
Pretty nice.
And there's only 3 TV shows in the superhero genre on television. From the robust performance of these movies, studios started greenlighting more, and there were 45 movies in the decade of the 2010s. That's 4.5 films a year. It's not much more, but, sometimes there are 5 movies in a year, sometimes there are 3. However, we got 25 TV shows about superheroes that year. And then bring it to right now, the 2020s. This decade, we're not even into the end of year 5. There have already been 31 superhero movies, which is on pace for 62 films in this decade, which would mean there's 6 superhero movies per year. On the top of that, 20 brand new TV shows have been put out on the air. Different television shows. Marvel put out 13 in a 3-year span, which is on pace for 40 shows this decade. So we're on pace for 6 films a year, and is that 6 TV shows a year.
So that's over 100 projects.
It's a lot of content. You can't deny, if you thin yourself out with so much, the audience is going to be spending less time watching it. So I think that there's absolutely an oversaturation. And in terms of the quality, if you're making this many projects, maybe you're not hiring, the best writers for all the movies or the best artisans for all the filmmaking. So you get movies like Madam Web and Morbius and Craven, and audiences are like, who wrote this? Like these movies aren't very good at all. So I think that an oversaturation affects everything and makes people less interested.
Before we continue, real quick, check out this amazing F1 poster over my right shoulder, given to us by our great friends at movieposters.com, the #1 place to get your movies today. Use our coupon code Raiders10 to get 10% off your order today.
So, James, what do you think? Do you think there's just too many?
I think it's a mix of a lot of things. Oversaturation absolutely exists. It's overwhelming at times, especially statistically. Most people, if they go to the movies, they're going 3 to 5 times a year. We're going to see every superhero movie every time it comes out, pretty much, depending on the universe.
I haven't seen Craven or Madam Web.
I've not been tuning into the Sony cinematic universe of Marvel characters. But we're going to go opening weekend. We're going to see these movies. We've seen Thunderbolts opening weekend, Fantastic Four opening weekend, Superman opening weekend. But the average moviegoer, are they going to turn out to these movies, especially with interconnecting storylines with TV series that they don't tune into? I haven't really been watching any of the TV shows for Marvel, for Star Wars, for anything really. And a lot of recent movies have been tying into them. So plot-wise, you kind of have to do homework. That's why I thought Fantastic Four was refreshing. No homework required. But you can't deny that the front-load heavy opening weekends of superhero movies at first give the allure for people to say, oh, these are going to be huge hits. This is going to be a massive mega movie. But after that first week, these movies are experiencing massive declines. Superman didn't have a huge decline. 55% is pretty standard, pretty average. But 66% and upwards of that for Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts, not good news. Same thing with Captain America, had a massive second weekend drop as well. I think the average moviegoer, they're just tuning out. They just maybe don't care anymore. And I think I don't think it's necessarily oversaturation. I don't think it's really superhero fatigue so much. I think it's more mediocre movie fatigue. Why should I go see this movie if the quality isn't where it was 8 years ago? The movies in the 2010s that we're getting for superhero movies generally were really good, especially when it was Marvel. Marvel was a hit every time you went to the cinema.
Nolan was making them, man.
Yeah, you knew you were going to see a good movie if it was 2015, and if it was a Marvel movie, you are excited. The trailer comes out. The first Ant-Man movie kicked ass. Like, who saw that coming?
Super fun.
The Guardians movies were awesome. Thor Ragnarok, 2016, 2017. Like, these movies were all really good. They were all very different, and they all complemented each other so well, but they cared about the storytelling and making great movies, whereas since Endgame, and yeah, there's so many things to factor in, COVID factors, lockdown factors, Screenwriting Guild factors for strikes and SAG and WGA. All these things are factoring in for, delays and poor performance. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of studios thought that they could do no wrong, no matter what people are going to turn out to these movies. And clearly it's proven that for the majority of the releases recently, that's not the case.
When we're talking about general audiences, we're talking about people who aren't super fans, who aren't all about DC. Most people, they'll like these movies, but they're not super invested in them, so you have to give them good stories to get them to come back. And I think you're absolutely right. I have the IMDb audience ratings of most of the recent releases in the genre. So Craven had a 5.5. The Marvels also a 5.5. This is out of 10, guys. Madam Web, 4.1 on IMDb. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, 6.0. Captain America: Brave New World, 5.6. Shazam 2, a 5.9. The Flash, 6.6. We still haven't even hit 7 out of 10, guys, from audiences. Black Adam, 6.2 on IMDb. The Suicide Squad, 7.2. Thunderbolts, 7.2. And these are still just, barely, that's around average. Still, I think 7.5 on IMDb is like a really good scale for
Sure.
like if the movie's really if it's good or not in terms of audience reception. Eternals 6.2, Bloodshot 5.7, The New Mutants 5.3, Wonder Woman 1984 5.4, Justice League 6, Dark Phoenix 5.7, Morbius 5.1, Joker 2 5.2, Blue Beetle 5.9, Aquaman 2 5.6, Black Widow 6.6, Shang-Chi with the highest score was 7.3, and Fantastic Four right now 7.4, and Superman 7.5.
So, it's important to bring up ratings for sure, but we are also in an era of review bombing that goes both ways. So, I mean, I guarantee if we pulled up those ratings, there's going to be a gargantuan number of ones for ratings and a huge number of tens for ratings. So I think with those specifically at this point, when it comes to superhero movies, we got to take them with a grain of salt, those ratings. You can't deny that.
Well, I mean, I feel like when 100,000 people rate a movie, it's a pretty good scale system.
No, but I'm talking about in the era of review bombing. Like, if you pull up those reviews.
Yeah. Well, I think,
what I'm saying is that the scales are tipped. And they're kind of unfair ratings. I'm not saying
but audiences aren't enjoying the films is the point.
I know they aren't, but I'm also, we have to be objective about this. If you pull up that, it's going to be crazy scale, 1s and 10s ratings on every one of those movies. None of those movies are 10s. None of those movies are 1s. They're probably all around 5 or 6 or 7, sure, but I think we got to talk objectively about everything, and I don't want to say these IMDb ratings are accurate based off review bombing for both 1 and 10-star ratings because it's a war in there, man. It's the trenches.
I'm going to slightly disagree because eventually the 1s and 10s will even each other out and balance each other out.
Will they, though? It depends on the movie. Every movie's different. So give me one of those movies.
I think that let's look at Shazam 2. Pull up Shazam 2, 5.9.
Shazam 2, the least controversial of them all.
But I'm not saying
Fury of the Gods.
Yeah, Shazam, Fury of the Gods.
But I'm just saying that we're living in a world where rating systems are corrupt. Over 10% of the ratings are 1 or 10.
I understand. I get that, but they will even themselves out.
But that's a very tame version, I think. That's a tame version. But let's move on from the IMDb ratings. I don't want to go on that for too long, but I think that exists. We have to acknowledge that review bombing exists. So I don't want to just say that these movies are 4s or 3s or 5s.
James, I gotta disagree with you. Most of the ratings on Shazam are 5, 6, and 7s.
I just said that over 10% are 1 in 10. But I'm saying let's pick a controversial one. Like Shazam 2 is like the tamest movie of all those at all. I'm talking about movies like the Marvels or other movies like that. They have battles where over a third of the ratings are 1.
I understand
that
there's
exists.
Some of them.
That's real.
But I mean, I feel like this is a pretty good rating system, especially for this movie.
I'm just saying, the Shazam's not a fair example, though. It's not a fair example at all. You have to do a movie like The Marvels. You have to put The Marvels in there. You have to put The Flash in there. If you did The Flash, a ridiculous amount of it would probably be 1-star ratings. That's all I'm saying is that...
No, yeah. The Marvels, looks like the third highest, most popular rating is a 1.
30% ratings are 1. That's not a 1-star movie, you know what I mean? So that's not fair. And then same thing with The Flash. 10% of the ratings are a 10 on The Flash. It's a war going on. So
I understand, but I'm saying with a few of the films, yes, but I think overall this is a good system for seeing what audiences think of the movies.
Sure, but let's move on. But I just wanted to acknowledge that review bombing exists all around.
Yeah.
But let's get off IMDb. I don't want to go on that for too long. But I think that there are a lot of other contributing factors here. I think when you look at Marvel specifically, an era where for 15 years it seemed like they could do no wrong, nothing could happen that people wouldn't turn out for. But did they make big mistakes? Was killing Tony Stark a huge mistake for their IP? Was aging out Steve Rogers a mistake for their IP? Was making Thor basically a walking joke a bad thing for their IP? Was turning the Hulk into a much tame handcuffed shadow of himself to like just being a wisecracking guy, was that bad for the IP for Marvel going forward? When you did all of that at the same time, your most popular characters, your most powerful beings, is that an issue?
So I think there's 2 factors you got to talk about. Some of the actors wanting to end their roles. So you got to, Downey at the time was done with the MCU. He wanted to be finished.
Not anymore.
Obviously.
We get that $75 million check.
Yeah, but at the time, he didn't want to be in any more movies for Marvel. And he said he was done. So what else? You can't really do anything else And then someone like Chris Hemsworth wants to keep being in the movies, obviously. But I agree, they, in a way, ruined his character. So the ones that stuck around, I think they changed the characters for the worse. But there are, Chris Evans didn't want to come back for more movies. So your hands are kind of tied when your actor is in them for 10 years. They're done. They don't want to be in anymore. So I think killing them off is the logical thing to do, and then you can replace them maybe 10 years down the line. But
it was a great ending to Endgame, too.
Yes.
It's perfect.
But the ones that stayed, I don't like what they did with most of the characters. So I think that I like the characters better from the earlier films than they are now.
Thor, perfect example of one of the most popular characters in superheroes in general when it comes to film, becomes a walking joke. Thor Ragnarok was really funny, but it kind of almost led him up this cliff where they just pushed him off, where Love and Thunder, almost an unrecognizable character from the first half of the MCU, and just doesn't seem like the guy he used to be. And then the Hulk, not a huge fan of what's happened to the Hulk either. And so remaining characters from those original Avengers sort of just becoming side characters, walking jokes, kind of dumb guys in a lot of ways. Obviously still heroic, but
sometimes.
Come on, man. Thor was amazing for so long. And that was a huge bummer. But then let's not just pick on MCU, but DC. Did they make too many mistakes, obviously, with the past? Was Justice League a huge error on their part? Not Zack Snyder's Justice League, the one they released in theaters before lockdowns. That was a big flop, critically slammed, audiences despised. Did that do irreparable harm to the brand and the IP, which was one of the reasons why they forced and just did a big reset basically in the last year?
Absolutely. It all comes down to good storytelling, and it's clear that all of the films in the genre, for the most part, generally speaking, have taken a dip and a decline in the quality of storytelling. And I think that's a case of putting so many projects out there where you have, a lead producer not even reading the screenplays of a movie about to go into production. Played. How does that happen? You know what I mean? And are people not reading other scripts that are getting put into production? Are in this factory machine, are things being put in greenlit, put into production without anyone really going over these stories? Is this as strong as it can be? There's something you can look at Christopher Nolan, what he did with the Batman movies. I think they're all really spectacular, and they're all very strong narratives, because he wasn't focused on, I need to just make 3 movies in this genre. I need to make 3 Batman movies. He made Batman Begins, and then he went off and did The Prestige. And hey, if that does well, maybe we'll revisit it. He made The Dark Knight, fantastic. Also, didn't need to have an ending. Both films had endings, in a way. You didn't have to continue the story. And then he was like, you know what? I think I'll do Inception. And then he went back to The Dark Knight Rises, came up with the story. So he's someone who always waited until the story was strong enough to make another one in the franchise. And I guarantee if he couldn't come up with something, he probably wouldn't have done a third film. Because Dark Knight did end perfectly. Batman Begins ended in obviously like a little fun Easter egg with the Joker card, but they didn't have to that movie could be a standalone film and still be fine. But now we're in this era where they're greenlighting 3 films before the first one even comes out. And they're scheduling films 5 years in advance. Let's just focus on telling a good story first and then build off of that. And if audiences like it, we can give them more. But they're already planning on giving audiences more before audiences like it.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. And, we're going to be harkening on box office a lot. And I know some people don't care about box office performance, but studios care. People who make movies care. And box office affects what kinds of movies get made. That's why we're in a superhero era, because they made so much money for so many years. And now these studios are just investing so much, but they're investing too much money. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there are pros and cons. Superhero movies are fun. There's nothing wrong with them existing. They're a good time. They're a great spectacle. Always have been a good time. Yeah. But when you're spending $400 million, when you're combining your production and marketing budgets for a movie, that studio, you could have made a bunch of other great films. You could have greenlit 15 projects, low budget, mid-budget movies from aspiring filmmakers or great filmmakers. And it is always a bummer when so many superhero movies come out where it's a studio that could have funded so many things and so many cool projects. And yes, they're anticipating a huge return. But at the end of the day, studios, they're not putting all this money into break even. And the break even point's really high these days. You know, if you have a movie that costs $200 million, probably marketing budget's around $100, that's $300 million investment that we know of. Box office, movie tickets get split with the theaters. The theaters are getting roughly 50 to 40% of ticket sales at the end of a box office run for a film, which means that a studio, if they're investing $300 million in a project, that movie has to absolutely make at least $600 million just to maybe break even. And then after that, just profit up the ass, which is great if you're making a lot of money, but they're not doing that. I was surprised to see some of these performers this year.
Yeah.
You know, Thunderbolt's losing, actually, objectively, truthfully losing the studio over $100 million. I did not see that coming. Now that I see it coming, I mean, Superman, loved it. Awesome film. It's one of my top 5 of the year. I know it's not in your top 5, but man, I fucking love that movie. It hasn't hit $600 million yet, and that's a very expensive movie. To break even and start making profit, they're going to have to hit around $700 million. It might hit that. It might not. But is it important for superhero movies to make $1 billion? If the studio wants to stay profitable and stay making money and stay open, I mean, we're looking at every year, it seems like different studios are getting purchased by other studios, other production houses, or they're getting dissolved and absorbed by other ones. That's not good. That's not like MGM having to get bought by Amazon. That's not good for movies. It's not good at all. But why did it happen? Box office failures, investing in the wrong projects. That's why it's important to talk about box office and these numbers. I know it doesn't determine how good a movie is. There's so many movies that Anthony and I talk about that are great films that we love that bomb and no one cares about seeing. I was so bummed that no one saw Mickey 17. That movie was a huge flop, but it was one of the better movies of the year in my opinion. But no one saw it, which is a huge disappointment. But no one cares because it wasn't a superhero movie. Isn't that odd?
It's this thing where, and James Gray had an interview at a talk. He's a really good filmmaker, if you don't know. He was talking about like James said, the success of the films in the 2010s caused the studios to really just go full tilt on a certain kind of movie, just this genre, and put everything into it. And what happened was, as we've seen and we'll talk about audience demographics and who's watching these movies now, it's not everybody. And if you make movies only for a fraction of the audience, people are going to be less interested in going to the movies. We're in an era where less people than ever are interested in movies. Less people than ever are going to the theaters to see films. And a part of that is movie studios keep making movies that other people don't want to see. And if they do make a small film or independent feature, it doesn't get that much release, doesn't get that much marketing, doesn't really get put out there. People aren't that aware of those smaller films, so they don't even go see those ones.
Yeah, we get a lot of comments where we'll talk about a film and people are like, I didn't even know this movie existed.
Yeah.
Because all the marketing's going to just big blockbusters.
Yeah, and these movies, they're just too expensive. These budgets are way too high. And like James said, it's a great point, the break-even point. And even, like, I still see so much confusion online. We've posted content recently. There's still so many people who think that Fantastic Four is already in the green. It's, again, they have to double their expenses to start earning a profit. And the budgets are just too high for these films, and the box office grosses showcase that audiences are less interested in them than ever. So here's just a handful of recent releases and their budgets versus their grosses. So Kraven the Hunter somehow had a $180 million budget, grossed $62 million at the box office.
That's really bad.
Now, these budgets are a combination of the production budget plus the marketing budget. So this is a total budget.
So that means that the studio lost probably $150 million in that movie, because if it's $60 million at the box office, probably split 50-50 almost with theaters, which means they put 80 into the film, and they made $30 million. So the studio made $30 million, maybe 40. So they lost 150-ish.
And that's not going to be long-term investment revenue. Kraven's not going to make them any more money.
No one's renting that movie.
The Marvels cost $380 million and grossed a total of $206 million. Madam Web, $150 million, total gross of $100. Why does that movie cost $150 million?
Especially the Marvels. Again, the Marvels they lost $200 million. They ate $200 million on that release. Again, box office splits. They invested over almost $400 million in that movie. They probably made $120 box office, the studio.
Crazy.
That's an insane loss.
Ant-Man Quantumania, a budget of $350 million with a $475 million gross. That movie needed to make $700 million just to get into the green. Captain America Brave New World seems like a hit, $450 million box office, but the budget was $280. So it didn't even hit it didn't even come close to the break-even point. The Flash, we all know, one of the biggest flops of the year. $300 million budget. It made less than that, $270 million. Shazam. Why does Shazam 2 have a budget of $180 million?
180?
180. It grossed $140 million.
God.
Black Adam, total budget $350 million. Box office $390 million. The Suicide Squad, $250 million budget, a gross of $180 million. The James Gunn Suicide Squad, to clarify. Thunderbolts, like James said, $250 million budget. That movie needed to make $500 million. Eternals, remember that one? $240 million budget. Gigantic budget. $400 million total gross. Eternals is a good example of that's just way too much money on a property and characters nobody's ever heard of.
I know one of the characters is named Icarus. That's all I remember.
Nobody ever heard of these characters outside of comic book fans. This is just way too much money. You got to look at the original MCU movies. They never had budgets this high. The New Mutants, $100 million budget for the New Mutants. $50 million total box office. Wonder Woman 1984, $250 million. $80 million box office, though I will put an asterisk there because it was a same-day at-home release as well.
So the Suicide Squad asterisk, they also did a release on HBO Max.
Same day.
So that's why it wasn't a huge performer.
Dark Phoenix, $300 million budget, $250 million box office. That's a sign of fatigue. How many X-Men movies have there been? Justice League, $400 million budget, $660 million. That sounds like a hit. That movie needed $800 to break even. Morbius, why does Morbius have a budget of $150 million? It grossed $160. Joker 2, I'll give you the first movie made $1 billion. Okay, $250 million budget. It made $207. Blue Beetle, new character. Nobody's ever heard of them. $180 million budget. That grossed $130 million. Why is Blue Beetle should have made that for $30 million? That makes no sense to spend that much money on Blue
Visual
Beetle.
effects, man.
CGI, it's all CGI. Aquaman 2, $300 million budget, $440 million gross. It needed $900 million.
Oh my God.
I mean, it needed $600 million to break even. Black Widow, $300 million budget, $380 million box office. Shang-Chi, the final pass release, $280 million budget. Huge budget. It didn't end up profiting because it cost so much. It grossed $430 million at the box office, but when your movie costs $280, you're only bringing in $215. So they're still negative $65 million.
Yeah. Again, I think there still needs to be some context here. You
Yeah.
know, if we're going through this chronologically, we can see a picture that's a little more clear, but some of these movies are released during the pandemic era. You know,
Sure.
Suicide Squad
Yeah.
2021 released at the same time, HBO Max. Black Widow was also one of those movies that was released on Disney Plus at the same time. Still grossed $380. That's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
The movie's not good, but I mean,
It's been playing at the gym a lot lately. It's not good.
that movie made a decent amount of money since it was released online. But so I think that you can't use COVID anymore as an excuse. You can't use
it's
lockdown
done.
as an excuse
Yeah.
anymore. It's 2025, guys. But obviously during that era, the streaming war began. Well, it didn't begin, but it just took off. And streaming, people, I understand the studio reaction where they were worried that theaters will possibly die. People may never leave their homes again. Let's go hardcore on streaming. Let's release movies at the same time, streaming and theatrically, whether it's Black Widow, Wonder Woman 1984, The Suicide Squad. They didn't really care, I think, at the time, the effect on the box office. Obviously, that huge lawsuit that ScarJo got over undisclosed amount of money, over $50 million, when she sued over Black Widow. She probably pulled over $150 million by herself just on that
probably.
movie because she got a $50 million salary and then sued them and won. So
And then keeps making Disney movies.
yeah, where?
She's got one in the works.
Oh, does she?
Yeah.
That's funny. So you can't deny that things changed. Of course, Endgame, your favorite characters are changed, either dead or aged out or changed. Lockdowns, streaming, boom. and then same-day release theaters, but now they've gone to a different kind of release format, which I like as much. I dislike as much as a same-day release, where now your movie's in theaters, it's coming out streaming sometimes less than a month later. Superman coming out 35 days after its theatrical release. Fantastic Four will probably be digital release in like 2 weeks at this point. And so the era where, your movie comes out in theaters and then maybe 10 months later, you get the DVD, Blu-ray availability. You can rent it at a store.
You've been waiting.
That was so exciting. That's gone. And so I think, obviously we've talked about this multiple times, where are they using whatever statistics they have to say the best chance to make the most money is to keep the window open as long as possible for your movie's awareness around because of the oversaturation. Whereas you have a second release that's streaming or VOD. I feel like no one's experimented with this in such a long time, except for like a Nolan movie, it feels like, because Oppenheimer didn't come out streaming for like 10 months after the movie left theaters. For a while, it felt like. And a lot of people are just, what's the point of going to the theater to see a superhero movie if it's gonna be on Disney Plus in a month and a half? Why leave the house? Oh, I'm busy this week. I got a doctor's appointment. My kids got baseball games. Mm-hmm. Life is exhausting.
It's tough
sometimes
for a lot of people. People are busy.
People have busy lives.
People are almost as busy as James is.
Almost. I don't know how I pull it off, but I don't blame them. If it's gonna come out streaming in a month and a half, why are you gonna go to the theater?
Yeah. So there's also there's a reason why studios started doing this, even when a movie's still making $14 million at the box office coming out on VOD, because the way tickets are split up between theaters and studios will get the higher cut percentage on the opening weekend and then second weekend. But that every weekend that passes, the percentage of the ticket sales goes into the favor of the theater owners. So it might be 60-40 studio theater opening weekend, then closer to 50-50 on the second weekend. Then by the third, fourth, fifth weekend, we're looking at the studios getting 30% of the tickets and the theaters getting 70% of the tickets. So the longer a movie plays, the more percentage the theater owners get. And so studios are like, fuck that. We want as much money as we can. I'm sure they got their number crunchers who have put all this together. They know what's best for them to start making money. And it seems like they put the numbers together that by week 4 or 5, it's more profitable for them to start putting their movies as $20 rentals online, as opposed to suffering the higher theater cut of ticket sales by week 5.
And what that connects directly to is the higher price of items in movie theaters.
Yeah.
There's no denying that it's expensive to not just go to the movies, but also to buy concessions. And, people love to get concessions, popcorn, candy, soda, whatever. It's part of the experience. I get it. I get popcorn all the time. I fucking love it. I got my stubs where I get my rewards. But, sometimes, man, those peanut M&Ms just hit at the right time.
I get those Kind Bar bundles. Those things are great.
It's like going to an amusement park, but yes, things are expensive at movie theaters. That's obviously a factor here, that people aren't going to the theater because I gotta pay to go to the theater, which now sometimes it's upwards of $18 to go to a movie for one ticket. Sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on the days, depending on the film, depending on the time, depending on the format.
Yeah.
But also, now I'm gonna go to the theater, gonna drive there. Sometimes I gotta pay for parking. I'm gonna go with my kids, or I'm gonna go with my friends. I'm gonna go with my boyfriend, my girlfriend. I'm going to buy popcorn. I'm going to buy this. So sometimes you go to the movies, you're spending like fucking $60, dude.
It's a lot.
Just for like 2 people.
Yeah.
That's an expensive thing to do for a lot of people. I understand that. But Anthony's just made a great point where it clearly has to be connected, where theaters, they're overcharging. I'm sure they're charging more than they have to, but because movies are getting pulled from theaters so quickly, movie theaters are losing money where they could be making on ticket sales. Top Gun Maverick, that movie saved theater chains. It really did. Unfortunately, it couldn't save ArcLight, a great theater chain that was in Southern California. Loved it. But that movie played so long in theaters that by the tail end of it, the second half of its release, movie theaters were making the most money off those ticket sales. And why did it stay in there so long? Because Tom Cruise said, don't you fucking dare put this movie on streaming. Paramount, I love you, but my name's Tom Cruise, and I'm in charge of this movie, okay? You're not pulling this movie from theaters.
Now give me a Coke, Paramount.
And you're going to wait 6 months after it's over before you put it on Paramount Plus to rent it on Amazon Prime. And that saved so many theaters and helped them so much. But when your movie, like Andy said, is getting pulled after 35 days of being in theaters, that hurts theaters, helps studios and their streaming platforms get more money, less money for theaters. Everything costs more money. It's a fucking vicious circle of money and capitalism and fucking swindling. And it's not fair, but it is what it is. It's changing so quickly that I think people don't realize it's happening, where theaters are suffering. And that's why I think it's one of the reasons why prices are so expensive now.
Yeah, and if you think about like a family of 4 or even like a group of people or a couple, you know, it costs a lot to go out and see a movie, so you got to give them their money's worth. And they're not getting their money's worth anymore for a lot of these movies. The last 5 years they've been going to these movies, spending a lot of money and coming back dissatisfied. They're watching these movies and they're like in the middle of these movies like, this movie sucks.
Yeah, if I had a family and I took them to see one of these mediocre superhero movies, I'd be like, what did I just spend $180 on?
Yeah, exactly. And then you look at something like F1, which performs so well with audiences that it's being re-released in IMAX.
I already got my ticket.
The most expensive format to see a film. It's being re-released there because audiences liked it so much they felt like they got their money's worth. They went to see F1 and their minds were blown, and they had great escapism, and you had a solid story and incredible filmmaking and things you've never seen before. There's a lot of creativity into that film. And yes, it's a sports drama. That's an archetype of a storyline, obviously. But F1 gave audiences something they crave. You know, when you're asking people to leave their homes, spend $80, you have to give them a good time. And if they're not having a good time at their movies, they're not going to keep showing up for your movies. And what's happened, though, and this leads into what I think is super important, is audience demographics for these films have changed so much from the 2000s and 2010s to what they are now. And this is an example of these films have lost the casual viewers. These films are losing. These movies always stray a little male heavy, but they've been losing the female audience precipitously every year, and they're also losing the older audiences. So let's look at a few demographics broken down by, I actually broke them down by character. So, start off with Spidey. Spider-Man in 2002 had pretty much an even split of audiences, 51% male and 49% female. That's crazy.
That's what you want.
That's unbelievable. That's 4-quadrant. Old people saw it, young people saw it, guys saw it, ladies saw it. Incredible demographic stats. Let's look at Across the Spider-Verse, the most recent Spider-Man release. The audience demographic tells a different story. That audience was 67% male and 33% female. Big change. Let's look at Batman movies. Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, another incredibly balanced demographic. 52% male and 48% female. Unbelievable.
But I can confirm the midnight screening for that was 99% male.
Mostly male at the midnight screening, for sure. And then if you look at a recent film, The Batman, the most recent interpretation of the character, very good film, but the audience is totally different. Again, we went from pretty much almost 50-50 with Nolan's film to now The Batman had a 65% male audience and a 35% female audience.
What?
Batman. Now let's go to Avengers. Avengers Endgame.
Everyone saw it.
Everyone saw it, and it had a very balanced demographic. 56% male, 44% female. Still, very balanced. That's what you want to see. You want all sorts of people to see your movies when you're spending $500 million on them. You know what I mean? Let's look at Thunderbolts, the new Avengers. Quote, the Thunderbolts demographic was, again, 65% male, 35% female. Huge drop in the female audience. And then
That's interesting because it's a female-led movie, too.
Exactly, yeah. And then Fantastic Four movies. We have one in theaters, and we had the first one in 2005 that was theatrically released. The original Fantastic Four had still male-heavy, but much better than it is now. It was 61% male, 39% female. And you look at today's Fantastic Four, 70% male, 30% female audience. Now, Superman. In theaters right now. Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. Very good. 56% male, 44% female. That's a good balance. You look at Superman 2025, 68% male, 32% female. This is clear evidence that they've lost the average female moviegoer. Most women are less interested in seeing these movies than before. Mostly guys are still showing up, but they've lost half of an audience for the most part.
Yeah, I think even the Marvels demographic, if I remember, I think the Marvels was also 2/3 male.
Whatever the genre is,
box
2/3
office.
male now.
Yeah, it
Doesn't matter what the movie is anymore.
I didn't know that. Yeah, because I know
They were very balanced back in the day.
they were, and that leads to massive box office numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really interesting.
And they've also lost the older audiences. So over 60% of the audience of Fantastic Four and Superman were under 30. So they're losing older audiences too.
Do you have any demos of previous superhero movies that had better performances with older audiences?
Spider-Man was pretty much 50-50. Under 25 and over 25 were both split.
So everyone saw it.
Everyone saw it. Yeah.
That's really interesting. I think there's also potential for a huge turnaround here.
Oh, yeah?
You know, we have massive movies coming out next year in the superhero genre that I think could lead to not a complete course correction. We may never hit the era of Endgame saga again. Even the DCEU movies were making big bucks back then. I mean, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, that was like $900 million at the box office.
Big hit, yeah, big hit.
But will the $1 billion superhero movie ever come back? I think there's a potential for 2 next year, and we'll talk about that after our intermission. Now, before we continue, the best way to support Raiders of the Lost Podcast is to become a patron, obviously, at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast, where you get access to awesome perks like weekly bonus episodes of the show, including Letterboxd Recap, which now lives on Patreon for more exclusive content for our patrons for as little as $2 a month or an annual $10 a month an annual $10 membership. You can become a member. We have 5 different tiers: $5, $2, $5, $10, $25, and $100. Every tier has more perks the higher you go. So find out which one is best for you and your wallet. Another great way to support the show. Come on, leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. I need them. I'm hungry. I'm starving for those 5-star ratings and reviews. They help us so much get charted on podcast platforms, help build reputability. And I'm going to read a wonderful 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. The only place you can actually leave written reviews is Apple. So I'll immortalize somebody on the show forever in just a minute.
This episode, of course, is sponsored by our friends at movieposters.com, the #1 place to get your posters online today. Look at that F1 poster behind James right there. Backlit, double-sided. This looks amazing and pops like you're in a cinema. They have all sorts of sizes, framing, and backlighting for your poster needs, as well as a selection of everything from your favorite Hollywood blockbuster to your favorite classic, international film, alternate prints, collectibles like lobby cards and original prints. Everything under the sea. There's no better way to express your love of cinema and of TV than by decking your place out with a ton of amazing posters, just like our set and just like our home. These are high-quality prints, very affordable prices, made even more affordable thanks to our coupon code Raiders10, which always gets you 10% off your order, as well as our affiliate link, which gives James and I a little cut of the action.
All right, let's head into our intermission, Anthony. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
I got some good ones for you. Here's a quote. See if you can guess the movie. It's not a mistake. They don't make mistakes. They don't do random. There's always an objective, always a target.
That's Born Identity.
Nope.
That's Born Supremacy.
Yes.
Julia Stiles.
Yep, Nikki.
Oh, man, I love it. All right, here's my quote. 1 second as I pull it up.
Take your time.
I didn't forget to do this.
You didn't forget to do this at all, did you? I'm the guy who does his job. You must be the other guy.
Okay.
Departed.
I got one. Well done. You just decapitated your grandfather.
What? Well done. You just decapitated your grandfather. Huh. I don't know.
That's Thor, the Dark World,
Ah,
when he breaks the statue's head.
man, I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
Me either.
I bet if we rewatch it, we'd be like, this movie's pretty fucking good.
I think in
Compared to
retrospect,
now.
it's not bad. I mean, it's got it's a 6.7 rating. It's an okay rating. Not great.
Guess this movie release year, Anthony. Drive.
2011.
He's right, everybody. Look at him go.
What year did
Congratulations.
Thor: The Dark World come out?
Thor: The Dark World came out in 2015.
13.
Ah,
Long time ago.
long fucking time. Same year as Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good poll, man.
Anthony, what actor from pop quiz time? What actor from James Gunn's Superman was also in Saving Private Ryan?
James Gunn's Superman. Nathan Fillion.
Nice pull, man. Yeah.
He's the first guy they think is the Ryan.
Yeah.
It's a different Ryan.
Nice job.
And he's worried about his brother. He's like, he's
Your brother. They tell him his brothers are all dead. He's like, but they're 10.
My brother's 12.
He's in Idaho.
He
or
was
something.
killed in Germany. What?
Wow,
super
that's
young.
quick. That was quick.
It's a good film, man.
Yeah.
Who directed the first Thor movie?
I'm trying to. Did Kenneth Branagh do the first one or the second one? I think he did the second one. And then the first one. I don't know.
It's Kenneth Branagh.
Kenneth Branagh.
Alan Taylor did the second one.
Gotcha.
From Game of Thrones.
That's funny. All right, can you pull up some unsubscribes, pal? I'm gonna pull up a 5-star written review from Apple Podcasts.
First up, we got Daniel.
Daniel.
In your gushing intro on Tom Cruise, this is our Tom Cruise movie draft episode, you didn't mention the comedic chops of Tropic Thunder. I was already unsubscribed, but I would unsubscribe again. Hashtag fat hands. Hashtag a nutless monkey could do your podcast. That's good. Jason William Parker. Guys, Game Night came out in 2018. Unsubscribe.
Oh yeah, I guess it.
Not that old.
Yeah, not as old.
Not
as
that
I
old.
thought.
Lightning Monkey. Damn. I like these multiple review videos. Great way to cover multiple movies you don't want to dedicate a whole episode to. Keep up the awesome work. Unsubscribed. That's a nice unsubscribe.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like an experiment, honestly.
Yeah. Meba. Not gonna lie, I thought Runaway Bride had roller skates as well.
Thank you.
In fact, when did it switch to sneakers? Hashtag unsubscribe. Josh, you're gonna like this, James. Guys, never in my life have I heard someone refer to the Roman numeral number 3 as Roman 3.
Thank you.
Stop it. You're embarrassing me in front of the wizards. Because of that, I have no choice but to unsubscribe.
Thank you. Also, Avengers Infinity War quote. Thank you
That's
so
what
much.
it's from.
Yeah.
Embarrassing me in front of the wizards.
Hey, Squidward.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Stark says it.
Yeah, Tony,
Okay.
Tony
Gotcha.
says it. Fucking hell, man.
Phil Mike. Did James raise his hand to ask a question in his own podcast?
Yeah, I
You
did.
did. Social Network. How polite was that? Random things like that is why I'll never unsubscribe.
I didn't want to just interrupt you, you know?
You literally went like, it's even in the social media clip on TikTok. Braden, guys, it's ain't no love in Oklahoma, not ain't no home in Oklahoma.
Ain't no love in
Oklahoma.
Honestly, I couldn't even hear what Anthony said.
Unsubscribed. You sang it too.
Did
You
I?
sang it with me in unison.
Did I?
Yeah, we sang it together.
Ah.
We both said home. Nuketown City. You guys said Zuckerberg way too many times. Unsubscribed. It's a lot in that episode. Blah, 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 blah. Mitchell, Anthony phoning in from a tin can and string to tell us about a film with subtitles. Unsubscribed. When I phoned in for Fanny and Alexander.
Boom roasted.
Kyle, talking about Beverly Hills Cop for not even 2 minutes. Unsubscribed. Sorry, pal. He's on a thumbnail. That's it for unsubscribes this week, guys. Thanks for making fun of us and fact checking us and, all around roasting. It's great.
All right, we have a bunch of great 5-star written reviews. I think I'll do 2 because there are a couple short ones too. This is from Scam/Victim. 5-star rating, subject line, Crimson Cypher equals idiot. It's unbelievable how someone can be so wrong yet so bold. Thank you for that
Thanks,
review.
pal. That's the Sinners reviewer, Crimson Cypher.
Oh, that's who it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. They call them Scam Victim. And then we have the Jared P.S. Unsubscribed, 5 stars. The Force Awakens came out in December, not summer. Therefore, I shall unsubscribe. Take that. Haha.
Summer box
You're
office
still
episode.
getting that, man. You're still getting
That's
that.
my fault. I did not double check that. I just assumed.
Hey, I should have fact checked you too, but man, I figured you did your homework. Anthony, what's your streaming recommendation for this episode?
Tell us what yours is first.
I want to hear yours first.
Best movies on Max right now. Google search. Final Destination Bloodlines. This is a fun movie. I had a good time. It's on Max.
This fucking guy. Could hear his
It's a good answer.
keyboard typing away.
It's a good answer.
I
also verbally said I was searching.
I also picked a movie from Max, Last Days. It's a Gus Van Sant film. It's pretty damn good.
James used to sing acoustic guitar to those songs.
I did.
He's
Back
very
in the
good.
day.
He's very talented.
Old James. All right, let's get back into our superhero movies dead. And I left y'all with a tease where I think, obviously, these movies are in decline, but there's potential next year for a big turnaround and a big comeback and potential $1 billion superhero movies. I think clearly Avengers
So we're going to go back in the cycle?
Yep, we're going to go back.
Right back into it.
Avengers Doomsday, I think, will 100% make $1 billion. I think
Yeah.
there's no way it doesn't make $1 billion. Obviously, Endgame and Infinity War both broke $2 billion, I believe.
Yes.
Maybe we'll never probably hit that, but I think that Doomsday will for sure break $1 billion. Spider-Man: Brand New Day, I think that movie, depending on how good the trailer looks and how good the movie actually will be, will for sure probably break $1 billion as well.
I'd say Doomsday is guaranteed $1 billion, maybe even $2 billion. And then Spider-Man, I think has potential for that, for sure.
Yeah, and obviously the goal isn't just to, this movie's only deserves to make $1 billion, and if it doesn't, it's not a great movie. But
it's a gauge of interest.
Gauge of interest for sure, and I'm sure, I don't know what the budget for Brand New Day is, but I know it's high. But the Doomsday movie, as well as Secret Wars, both those movies, I think they're going to pull, they have a budget in marketing of around $500 million each.
It's $1 billion duo production, yeah.
So they need those movies to make over $1 billion every time just to break even. Now that's setting up a dangerous precedent when your movie's that expensive and needs to make $1 billion. The Avatar movies, yeah, they're in that category, but they make $2 billion every time, and they need $1 billion to break even as well. But
there's only two of them.
Yeah, there's such a proven track record that it's like they're gonna every time, especially because I think a major factor here that maybe not a lot of people are talking about is the lack of interest in China for superhero movies the last couple of years.
Yes, good point.
You know, Avatar, they'll make $1 billion just in China alone. And superhero movies were killing in China for such a long time. But I believe, I could be wrong, but didn't Fantastic Four only pull like under $10 million in China?
Its opening weekend in China made $4.5 million box office.
That's low.
To compare that, Mission Impossible Final Reckoning actually made $25 million its opening weekend in China.
It's a big number.
So Tom Cruise pummeled the Fantastic Four in China.
So it seems like the China market is losing interest. I don't know what the deals are. It's
not doing well with Superman's not doing well either.
Yeah, but I don't know how many theaters it's playing in there. Are people really interested in it? Is it being censored in specific areas?
But it's actually international interest overall is waned because if you look at Superman, its international numbers are not doing that great. It's actually it's not gonna make anywhere near Man of Steel. So Man of Steel made $670 million. Most of its money came from the international market. Mm-hmm. Superman, it's still most of its money is domestic earnings. That's not usual for this genre, for these big budget IP movies. It's generally been about 1/3 domestic, 2/3 international box office grosses. So it's trending downward internationally for all these movies.
Yeah.
Thunderbolts as well, very poor international performance.
Superman's at a little over $550 million right now.
But mostly domestic.
And it's still pulling, its weekends are still solid. It's still pulling over $15 million in the weekends. But that's really interesting because Man of Steel came out in 2013, $670 million adjusted for inflation. That's like $970.
Yeah.
Like not today, $970 million at the box office today.
Yeah.
So that's why when people always criticize us or other people for bringing up box office, we're not the ones that are always bringing it up. We're bringing it up because everyone else is talking about box office. Like I saw the headlines last week. Superman is a higher grossing movie than Man of Steel. That's without adjusting for inflation, guys. Yeah. And even
the headline.
If you adjust for inflation, it's not even close, really. Domestically, yeah, it passed it if you don't adjust for inflation. So there's sort of like this weird tiptoeing around reality that is it really as successful as a Man of Steel? No, it's
sold.
not.
It sold way less tickets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Way less tickets
Way less
because tickets cost less money in 2013, and they
And
made
the value
equivalent-
of the dollars was way less.
and now it's not even at $600 million yet.
Yeah.
So it's way less tickets sold for more box office with inflation. So it's just like obviously no one brings up ticket numbers anymore.
Yeah.
Which they should, to show really how many people are seeing a movie.
And this is a perfect example because same character, same IP, and different movie, 12 years apart. And Zack Snyder's Man of Steel overall got way more interest from audiences than this Superman did. And I'm not talking just how much it earned at the box office. It represents how many people went and saw the film. So way more people saw Man of Steel than Superman. Even when Superman ends its run, the new one, it won't be the same caliber of number of people as Man of Steel. It won't. It's just impossible to hit that number from what it's doing.
But also more context, different landscape. There are way fewer superhero movies coming out every year.
Yeah, exactly. This is all connected. Oversaturation.
You know,
It's all connected.
again, we have 4 Marvel movies this year. Just 4 Marvel movies this year. That's insane. Because I think that the summer blockbuster season this year was really interesting, where everyone put their big movies end of June, July, whereas August is nothing massive coming out this month, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Fantastic Four came out at the end of July,
Yeah.
but they all hit
Weapons is gonna clean up.
Yeah, Weapons is gonna
Yeah.
be by itself in IMAX for like
Yeah.
a week, and then obviously F1's gonna take it over, but they all just went up against each other. I know August is a poor performer at the end of the day, but then it's like, as a casual moviegoer, it's like, I gotta see Mission Impossible, I gotta see this, I gotta see all these movies this summer. Sometimes you don't get around to it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're busy. It's like too many big movies to see at the same time.
And in terms of saturation,
Jurassic World.
Yeah. In terms of saturation, unless in a month and a half, it was like you're asking audiences to go see Thunderbolts and then go see Fantastic Four and then go see Superman.
And see Jurassic World.
And it's just like, those movies are all for general audiences. It's the same movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's not much variety. Audiences want variety. Audiences want original stories. And I mean, at the end of the day, superhero movies generally have the same story. It's the same overall thing happens.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. That's an oversimplification.
So audiences, they're not being surprised anymore, and they're not being awed anymore. And at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing that studios have to do going forward, there's 2 huge things. They need to start making these movies on smaller budgets. You can cut the budgets at least 70%. These movies are way too expensive because you're banking on having to make close to $1 billion for profiting every time. And then on top of that, just make less of them. The less you make, the more demand there is for them. Supply and demand. Supply and demand is still the rule of all marketing and purchasing of economics. The less you have of something, the more you'll earn. Because there's more demand because there's less of it. If you have a superhero movie every week, they'll make way less money. If you look at the selection of toothpaste you have in the store, there's 40 different choices. But if there are only 2 toothpastes to choose from, those companies would make all the money. So supply and demand is like it's the law of economics. So the supply is too high, so the demand isn't high.
Yeah, where are the audience goers? Lack of interest, oversaturation, a lot of mediocre movies. You know, Phase 4, Phase 5 of Marvel was not that exciting, guys.
Zero rewatchability, really.
Very low rewatchability. Yeah. And yes, Deadpool Wolverine is that one outlier, made over $1 billion, but that was more of like a nostalgia magic trick, one-off.
Just...
You know, that was Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman putting butts in seats. Mm-hmm. And it clearly didn't lead to a big turnaround, which people are saying, oh, Marvel's back over $1 billion, but where is it happening this year?
These movies, at the end of the day, I mean, these movies are too. They need to just start making $100 million movies, $80 million movies again. Shang-Chi shouldn't be a $280 million movie. Make that a $50 million movie, a little smaller in scale. You only need to make $300 million to start profiting.
And what's the benefit of that is then Shang-Chi might get a trilogy, huge hit movies, you know what I mean? So we get more Shang-Chi movies that are great, so I think focusing on better storytelling, less movies, but you can definitely see the future where they'll double down again. I can see the future where, I can see a future where Doomsday's a hit, Spider-Man's a hit. Maybe Marvel's like, fuck it, quadruple down, 10 Marvel movies a year. I could see that happening.
I don't think so.
You never know.
No, I don't think so.
It would be, I think, a misstep.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the most important thing is story. And if the stories are good, people will come. If they aren't good, they won't come. There are audiences who just the movie existing is enough for them to go to the theater. You know what I mean? But then for a lot of people, it's like, is it good? Because that's going to determine whether I go or not.
That's a good point. So superhero movies, they're not dead.
They're dying.
They're in decline.
Yeah.
They're probably looking at a gravesite lot to get just in case. Because they don't want the burden on their family to pay for all the bills. So they're probably browsing cemeteries, but they're not dead. They can come back. And people are obviously still going. It's no joke to make $500 million at the box office for any movie. So obviously people are there. But a lot of audiences lost interest. Anthony pointed out, statistically, a large portion of a specific demographic are not going to the movies anymore for these films, for superhero movies. How do you get those people back, whether it's the older people or younger women? How do you get them back to get a more balanced 50-50 split at the box office to increase your ticket sales? I don't know, but maybe they'll
make good movies.
Make better movies for everyone to want to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
If people want to see, if a movie's really good, people will go see it.
Because if your movie's good, it's socially relevant. And when things are socially relevant, people want to be a part of the social conversation and experience.
Barbenheimer, baby.
Exactly.
Barbenheimer. 2 movies at the same time, coexisting, both one making $1.4 billion, one making $980 million.
Both very good.
Very different films.
Yeah.
People loved them. They were great. It's not like $1 billion movies can't happen anymore.
And those movies, I mean, Barbie had a huge opening weekend, but Oppenheimer was not front loaded. Made $65 million opening weekend. It's not front loaded. If you make a good movie, people would talk about it, tell other people, "Oh, you gotta go see Oppenheimer." Mm-hmm. "Oh my God, I saw Oppenheimer." "You haven't seen Oppenheimer? Go see it." That's what gets people. That's what makes money. If you make it good, they will come.
I agree. That was a pretty fun debate.
Extensive. Yeah.
I feel like we were fair.
I'm just going off objectivity and numbers and what it tells us.
Yeah, we talked everything. We talked missteps by the studios, superhero fatigue, mediocre movie fatigue, the effect of streamers, oversaturation, killing your heroes, where the fans are, ticket prices in theaters, movie theater costs have gone up, everything, it's all connected. Everything has to do with it. There's no one answer to why there's people not coming out to theaters for superhero movies second, third weekend, but it's all there when you put it all together. It's all a bunch of pieces to a puzzle.
It's a complex puzzle, man. But anyway, hey, the only thing that can save this is quality, really.
Quality and less quantity.
Yeah. Quality, that's it.
All right, well, thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. We hope you had an enjoyable listen to this episode of this podcast.
Yeah, hopefully it was enjoyable.
Go to Patreon today to become a member of our patron. I can't even talk anymore. Patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews on Spotify and Apple. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. All the things. Do the things. Be sure to share us with the family and friends. And take care.
See you next time.